Do you ever get that feeling whenever you're doing something you like, that you've been doing that thing for way longer than you originally intended? That's what this became. See, when I was doing this conjunction survival run, this was actually my first test of Koumei. I hadn't played her beforehand, I did get her earlier, but I wanted to do the quest first, just so I could see the context behind her. But after, when I decided to give her ability kit a check to see what exactly she brings to the table, I was floored with how long I had stayed in this mission. It ended up being an hour, which, on the grand scheme of things, isn't exactly very impressive, especially considering this isn't even Steel Path. But the fact that an ability kit exists that makes me want to go that long period of time subconsciously, we gotta talk about it. So let's talk about it. Today, this video is going to be about Koumei, specifically her ability kit, and how it feels to play as her. To put it simply, her kit revolves around status effects. More so, the act of applying multiple status effects to single targets and multiple stacks of multiple status effects. Every 60 seconds, one of Koumei's weapons will be chosen at random to receive a blessing that allows it to apply random status effects on hit. You can see this in the little circle timer on the bottom right. The second half of her passive involves casting abilities. More specifically, whenever she casts an ability, Koumei will roll 5 dice, and depending on the dice roll determines the effectiveness of specific abilities. Honestly, this dice roll mechanic does make sense on its own, especially on ability cast, but having it reroll constantly during each cast and also having it have different effects depending on the dice roll does make it feel a bit more like a minigame, which is definitely more welcome in my opinion, and adds a layer of complexity that's definitely welcome in a Warframe. Next, I'll briefly touch base on the abilities and what they do, but I'd more so like to get into how the kit as a whole functions together, and effectively what makes Koumei so bananas to play as a result. The first ability is called Koumei. This is used to create an AoE of threads everywhere that basically creates status effects on anything that touches it. If it's enhanced by the dice by getting 3 6s in the roll, then it'll turn the threads white and cause every status effect to proc on something that it touches. This ability is just mental. You cast it in a hallway or you cast it out in the open and then you watch as everyone struggles to wander about. They're legit like tripping over these things and getting all these status effects, softening them up. Especially when the white threads go through, it basically makes everything a chaotic mess and I love it. The second ability is called Omikuji, and in my opinion this is the most mechanically complex ability in her entire kit, as simple as it is to cast. Basically, when you press 2, a challenge will appear. This challenge is similar to Nightwave and Riven challenges, and once you complete it, you'll get a buff pulled straight from Deviri. Like no joke, this is legit one of the Deviri decrees outside of Deviri. If you had an idea about Deviri at home, well, this is it here. I'll get more in depth into it later as to why I like this ability so much, but basically, in my opinion, this is the best ability she's got. Her third ability is called Omamori. This creates charms around Koumei similar to Korvex's Disometric Guard or Baruch's Knives, and basically each charm has a 50% chance to negate damage, replacing it with healing, shielding, or overshielding. If you roll triple 6s, then Koumei will be invincible for the duration of the charms, and since there is no specific duration on the charms, this invincibility effectively lasts until each and every charm is deleted by enemy gunfire. In my opinion, a survivability ability like this is actually really good to have. The fact that we do have something like this to supplement the idea of basically being a sort of caster style frame is definitely helpful, and definitely does serve to supplement the playstyle of trying to do those challenges and making sure you're playing in a very weirdly specific way and not dying in the process. And lastly, we get to Koumei's fourth ability, Bunraku. This ability creates an AoE suspend on enemies in line of sight, causing status effects on anything that has been suspended. The elements that are cast, much like with other abilities, are only the elemental status effects, and not IPS. In my opinion, this ability is the most underwhelming of the kit. That's not to say it's bad, as an AoE, well, I say AoE, it's more like a cone kind of suspend, does definitely help in regards to locking down these beefier targets, but in this case here it doesn't really feel very interesting to use. It's more so just targeted crowd control in my opinion. Not a bad ability, but definitely not as fun as the others in my opinion. So now that you know how the abilities work, I'd like to talk about how the kit as a whole feels to play, specifically in regards to how the synergy goes with the passive as well as the second ability Omikuji. So, Koumei's kit does have a lot of moving parts with the passive and how the abilities function, especially with the second ability. But interestingly enough, in my initial session, I had actually found myself fixating on that second ability more than anything else. More than spamming her 1 to keep areas locked down, more than using her 3 to keep myself protected. I've been waiting for those cooldowns to go through and then just completing those challenges, however redundant it made my playstyle, and it ended up causing me to lose track of time in a way I haven't really seen in a very long time. That isn't to say that the other abilities are completely useless by comparison. However, I've found that actually using the abilities, even if they have no direct synergy with Omikuji, actually do enable for those challenges to be completed way easily. For example, using her 1 to lock down enemies and cause that confusion with the status effects, and using her 3 to protect herself when you're sliding around or wall latching, and for those moments where you're effectively just not going to be playing in the typical playstyle you ordinarily would. Even her fourth ability, while it is in my opinion still a bit lackluster by comparison, still serves as a valuable means to lock an enemy down if it has that higher health value. I'm actually very excited to test out some build crafting to see just how far we could take these abilities in regards to their strength. But for this entire playstyle, my recommendation is to keep a close eye on the Omikuji challenges, and to use those abilities specifically to complete them a lot more easily, as you might find the power gained from decrees will greatly outweigh the power gained from just using the abilities standalone. All in all, I think Koumei is a fantastic addition to the game. The power scaling granted from her 2 is definitely nothing to shake a stick at, and her 1, her 3, and her 4 even definitely serve to enable that to be done a whole lot easier, to cause a lot of chaos on the battlefield, and basically keep yourself alive while you're playing like a weirdo collecting those decrees that really shouldn't be in the mission you're currently in. With that said, I do want to thank you again for watching this video. Be sure to hit a like, hit a subscribe, and if you do want to see more stuff, let me know. I have a lot of ideas cooking and I can't wait to share them. Thank you very much for watching this video. My name is Kamosa, and I'll see you another time.